Good morning, everyone. In today's presentation, I will deliver the topic of strong collaborative partnership with families and communities in early childhood education and care. The National Quality Standard and EYLA version 2 are frameworks that guide this professional development presentation on how partnerships support children's learning, development, and inclusion. Introduction. To provide high quality early childhood education and care, strong partnerships between educators and families and across communities are required. The National Quality Standard and Belonging Being Becoming, the EYLF version 2, highlight that children learn, develop, and engage with the world when educators build respectful, reciprocal relationships with families. Such partnerships are no accident, but rather intentional and demand a sustained effort, including critical reflection and inclusivity. Increasing diversity among families in contemporary ECEC context requires flexible and culturally responsive educators who engage family members effectively. Collaborative partnerships, play-based learning, promoting children's sense of belonging, identity, and well-being, foundational for all learning. In this context, we examine the claim that partnerships facilitate powerful learning and consider the significance of NQS and EYLF version 2. Incorporates a review of current literature and offers approaches to consider for meaningful family and community engagement in your context. The National Quality Standard and Collaborative Partnership. The NQS helps to plan and deliver high quality education and care for children across Australia. This goes to the heart of Quality Area 6, collaborative partnership with families and communities. Family involvement, Standard 6.1, relationship with families will carefully build respectful and supportive relationship involving interaction and decision making together, where families know their children best. This is further developed in Standard 6.2, which encourages um, services to develop collaborative partnership with their community to support children's learning and inclusion. It is noteworthy that each of the quality areas reflect collaborative partnership. Quality Area 1 states that a curriculum plan should be guided by the information source, which is the family input. This helps make all learning relevant and meaningful to the lives of children. The foundations of Quality Area 5, which is relationship with children, are the importance of secure relationships and that they develop through trust between families and educators. All these quality areas together highlight that partnerships are not an independent practice but rather a central part of professional obligation. High quality services actively and meaningfully involve families in decision making processes. EYLF Principle, Practices and Learning Outcome. The EYLF version 2 is a clear and well organized document that outlines the recommended pedagogical approaches, which situate relationships at the fulcrum of early learning. The principle of partnership with families acknowledges that all children learn from their first and best teachers. This principle goes beyond simply having to communicate and moves the educator into actually collaborating, being involved in common decision making, and respecting. Respect for diversity presupposes families with different cultural, linguistic, and social backgrounds. Practices should not only reflect these differences but also be inclusive of them. In turn, equity, inclusion, and high expectations serve as additional proof point for supporting meaningful engagement of all children and families in the learning environment. Important practices that foster partnership include collaborative leadership and teamwork, where educators, along with attending families, team up to support the learning of children. Cultivating cultural responsibility makes sure that the way you teach respect people's identity and reflects their identity. When educators and families communicate, children's transitions between home learning, early learning settings in school are also supported through the continuity of learning. All these principles and practices apply to EYLF learning outcome, or when children feel they belong to their families in their cultures, which is outcome 1. Children have strong sense of identity. Engagement with families and communities better supports outcome 2, which is children are connected with and contribute to their world. And sharing information, language practices between educators and families is related to outcome 5, which is children are effective communicators. Importance of collaborative partnerships for children's learning. Collaborative partnerships are central to improving the learning and development of children. Through partnerships with families, educators gain a deeper understanding of children's interest and strength as well as need. This will allow us to develop teaching that is rich and valuable, personalized and engaging. Epstein, which is 2018, points out that there is a close association between high family involvement and academic success, social competence, and emotional health. There is a need for consistency between home and educational settings that will support children's sense of security and belonging. Moreover, partnerships also promote early identification of developmental concerns. Effective home and educator communication can lead to positive strategies for challenges, responses available, and on-hand intervention. This early support is essential to foster positive developmental outcome. Collaborative partnership also help instill a sense of belonging for children. Children feel like they are valued with support and confidence when their families are in the learning environment, which leads to more engagement. Inclusion and support for diverse family. There are diverse needs of families around how ECEC services respond to differences, including cultural, linguistic, socioeconomic, and structural. It is essential that all families are made to feel respected, valued, and included in their child's education when offering inclusive practices. Work with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander families must be culturally safe and respect identity, culture, and connection to community. For example, educators must also work with local communities to integrate Indigenous perspective into the curriculum. Language barriers may hinder engagement with culturally and linguistically diverse families. Inclusion can be supported by providing translated material using interpreters and the home languages of children in a learning environment. Inclusion is a fundamental part of EVALF principles that respect diversity and equity and inclusion, as well as NQS practices for an inclusive environment. Real examples of community partnerships in ECEC. Incorporating community partnership can fully support children with authentic, real-life experiences for learning, increase inclusion through supporting a variety of need and backgrounds, while also encouraging relationship between the service, family, and the community to deepen, which supports holistic development across each outcome of EVALF. The first one, public library partnership. A local public library works with an ECEC service to run weekly storytime session, book borrowing programs. It develops early literacy skills, encourages a love for reading, supports cognitive development through language exposure, builds attention listening skills. Free access to books support low-income families, multilingual books support culturally diverse families, and EVALF Outcome 5 and NQS Quality Area 6. Speech therapist. An EC center collaborates with speech pathologists and child health nurses who visit the service regularly. Early identification of speech and developmental delays, tailored learning strategies implemented in the classroom. Their developmental impact improves communication and social interaction, social emotional benefit. It ensures children with additional needs are supported early and promotes equitable learning opportunities. And it can be linked to NQS Quality Area 1 and EVALF practice responsiveness to children. The third one, the Aboriginal Community Organization Partnership. The service works with the local Aboriginal elder or organization to deliver cultural programs, storytelling, and acknowledgement of country practices. Builds understanding of Indigenous culture and history, encourages respect for diversity. It strengthens identity and belonging, develops social and cultural awareness, supports cultural safety for Aboriginal children, and promotes inclusive practices for all children. Outcome, it can be linked to outcome 2 and principle, respect for diversity. Local school partnership. Preschool children visit a nearby primary school and teachers collaborate on transition practices. Familiarizes children with school routine and expectations, supports continuity in learning, it builds confidence and independence, reduces anxiety about transitions, support children from vulnerable background, ensures smoother transition for children with additional needs, and it can be linked to continuity of learning and NQS quality area 6. Cultural community groups, families and local cultural organizations share festival food, music traditions, expand children's cultural knowledge and awareness, encourages respect for differences. It builds social skills and empathy, strengthens identity for children from those cultures, promotes belonging for diverse family, reduces bias and stereotypes. And it can be linked to evaluative principle, respect for diversity, and outcome 1. Community partnerships and their impact. Community partnerships extend children's learning opportunity beyond the ECC setting. Working with local partners improve access to local resources, knowledge, and experience that can help children grow. For instance, connections to local libraries support early literacy by fostering reading habits and introducing books and programming. Collaboration with health professionals, including speech therapists and child health nurses, helps to address developmental needs early through identification and intervention. Partnerships with Aboriginal organizations are crucial in advancing cultural awareness and inclusivity. These partnerships nurture their relationships to identify and community. Then working with schools, school teams, transition partnerships help support continuity of learning through early transition arrangements to assist children in settling into new environments. These partnerships support a sense of belonging for children and align with EYLF outcome 2, which is connected with community. Assessment practices. One key to a strong partnership is assessment practices. In line with NQS Quality Area 1, assessment should also be reflective and in partnership with families, so it takes place on an ongoing basis. Various tools, including observations, learning stories, and portfolios, are used by educators as assessment documentation for children's learning. Transparency and collaboration. Embedding some assessment information that families can see will help promote communication about what is being covered in school. Through the lens of family support and assessment, families can share their perspective, and that will ensure our assessment reflects the whole child. Instead of strictly viewing it as a singular case, this allows for collaboration and thus promotes relational approaches guided by consensus. The emphasis on feedback and data also allows us for a circuit of continuous improvement. Unit analysis assessment by unit means educators and families sharing assessment info to identify units of strength, challenge areas, and future learning opportunities. Strategies to build strong collaborative partnerships. How do you develop well-grounded and evidence-based strategies to build strong partnership? Communication is an important part of the organizational function, and both formal and informal method should be used. New and digital platform, as well as newsletter, personal face-to-face conversation provide possibilities for continuous dialogue. Developing trusting relationship is fundamental. Educators need to establish safe places in which families can come feeling accepted and respected. That includes respectfulness, receivability, and response to family need. A curriculum that encourages the whole family to take part improves engagement. Families can suggest ideas, share their culture and activities, which again is reinforcing the connection between home and the learning place. Flexibility is also important, understanding that families have busy schedules. Services should provide options for engagement to you, ranging from flexible meeting times to online communication. Challenges. However, forming partnership could be difficult regardless of their usefulness. Engagement may be limited by time, language barriers, and difference in expectation. In some families, they may have withdrawn from participation due to past experiences, perhaps feel hesitant about their own skills. Solving these problems will need powerful solution. Engagement can be supported through flexible communication, translation services, and an inclusive environment. Cultural competence, professional development can prepare educators to better serve culturally diverse families. Conclusion. In ECEC, collaborative partnerships between educators and families and communities are essential for facilitating children's learning and development and well-being. Aligning with NQS, EVALE version 2 practices, educators develop relationships that welcome, respect, and support all children. These alliances foster a sense of belonging, bolster identity, and lead to better learning outcome for young children. Using intentional strategies and critical respective practice to support continuous improvement and collaborative partnership is how ECEC services can obtain positive lifelong pathways. So yeah, pretty much we've covered everything. So before I go, I would like to ask you a question. So how do you engage your families currently in your service? And that help us to reflect on what we do and how we could improve it. Thank you.